ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Bright Brains. Today, we are exploring the fascinating world of metaphysical healing and mental health. We have an extraordinary guest joining us. Her name is Aether Candace. Aether is a grand master of not one, but three different types of Reiki, and she brings her profound expertise as an intuitive performance coach with her unique blend of metaphysical healing techniques and intuitive coaching. Aether helps individuals unlock their true potential and achieve holistic well being. We are thrilled to have her on the show to share her insights into the power of energy healing and its impact on mental health. Please join me in welcoming Aether Candace. Welcome
Thank
to the
you so
show.
much. Thank you,
Hey,
Zach.
no problem. Thank you for joining us. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what exactly is Reiki.
I'm Aether Candace. I have been in the metaphysical space for a long time. Since I'd say about 2000 or so, um, I've been on the hunt for, my role in this for like since 12. So knew I was gifted from 5, started doing research on my own around 12, and then just kept building on that. By the time I was 18, I was doing readings for other people. And then in 2015, I turned this into a business for myself. What got me into uh, energy healing was I was a receiver of the services, and it helped me transform my life in a major way. Um, and Reiki is a form of energy healing. It originated in Japan. And I want people to understand that Reiki is just one type of energy healing. Before I picked up Reiki, I was doing another type of energy healing that I still do, and sometimes I blend them. So, energy healing in itself is about healing those additional bodies that you have outside of what you see with your naked eye. You have your physical body, you have your etheric body, you have your emotional body, and you have your mental body. Um, these are the bodies that, like, say you walk past somebody and you feel like you touched them, but you know you didn't. When I'm working in Reiki or any type of energy healing, that's the space that I'm working in. The part that you can feel, but most people can't see. Um, with that, it's very important for people to understand what that is, what's going on with it, so they can heal it. So a lot of times the things that you worry about might sit somewhere between your mental and emotional bodies, and those things can then manifest into your physical body. So it's very important to make sure that you're at least paying attention to what's going on and learning how to care for your emotional, physical, and etheric bodies as well.
So, how does Reiki work?
So with Reiki, I myself as a Reiki master would pull energy from the universe, um, light energy from the universe, to then transfer it into you. So initially, what I do is I do a scan of your body to see what's going on with it. Uh, where can we, where do we have any problems within your aura and within your chakras? So you're kind of working like aurically. So say this is your body. Aura goes up like this. If you're laying down, up like this, and your chakras are going along that space. So I'm working up and back and forth on you. Once I determine where there might be an issue, so maybe your chakras are stagnant, maybe they're just kind of in distress. Figuring out what the problem is or where the problems are, where we're having stagnancy, where we're having things linger in your aura, and then go through and clean that out. So clean out all those different parts within your aura. And then from there, transferring universal energy into you so that you can heal. So there's many, many types of Reiki. Most people only know about the main one, which is Usui. But I practice others as well.
You said you started teaching yourself this when you were 12 years old. Were you
Actually,
just
so I've just stayed within the psychic realm. um, studying like human potential, what we can do that we're not taught about in schools or anything like that, or, trying to understand my own experiences. I knew I was different from like five. So with me knowing that I was different, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm seeing this, I'm experiencing this, and I'm feeling this. Why? So that was from there. In my 20s is when I ran into someone who offered me energy healing. And that was from me trying to find a mentor to help me move forward in my psychic abilities. Like I had them, but I knew they could be better. They can always be better. Like no matter where you are, they can always improve. So that lady, the first lady that I worked with, she was like, we can do that, but you need to heal. So let's heal you up first, so that your gifts will come to you a lot better, and that you're not walking around with like all of this extra stuff, but also having this horrible stuff just kind of sitting on you. And so that's how she started doing like energy healing on me, removing things that shouldn't be there, closing energy gaps. Like, a lot of times people have so much energy happening, releasing, like leaving their body at one time that they don't even know about. You're just imagine you're a bottle of water with a hole in it, and you just don't know. You're just tired all the time. You just don't understand why you're so tired. A lot of times it's just energy leaving your body, leaving your aura, leaving your being, that shouldn't be there. And so with her, it was just really understanding what had to happen. And keep in mind, as we heal as people, look at us as onions. As soon as you heal one layer, there's something underneath that is just kind of like couldn't get healed until you move that top layer. And it's just on and on and on and on. And so she did a lot of work with me and really helped me professionally. Because at the time, like my regular day job was in marketing. I had a marketing business, still do. Um, I had a marketing business, and she was a spiritual advisor, and she was seeking my services to help her move forward. So in working with her, she was just like, have you ever taken this corporate? And I was like, no, I never thought about doing what I do in the corporate world. And she was like, why not? And I said, well, I'm self-taught. I taught myself how to build websites. I taught myself, digital marketing. And so I never thought they would accept me. And she's like, oh, yeah. 'Cause she used to be a marketing executive for a major telecom company before she changed careers. And she's like, oh, they'll eat you up. Just fix your resume and go. And that's what happened. I fixed my resume and I couldn't stop. The phone calls every day with people who wanted me. I didn't even know what to call myself. But sure enough, I was working in corporate, doing marketing, doing the things that I taught myself. So the work that she did with me gave me a lot of confidence and kind of like knocked a lot of the dirt and dust off of me to make it easier for me to achieve. So it's not always about um, someone doing energy work or experiencing energy work or receiving energy work so they can become, the next Yoda. That's not everybody's goal. Sometimes it's a matter of just being able to go further on your path faster. Whatever it is you want to achieve, you can achieve, but at the end of the day, we're all bodies with energies and things like that. They could use some fine tuning, some cleaning up. So from there, I worked with her for a couple of years, and I ended up working with another lady with the same name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Same city. I was in the Atlanta area at the time, and working with that lady, it was just like I was at that point. I was in job on my third corporate job. At that time, I was like in a Fortune 200 company, and it was wild. I just had a break in between the jobs, and I worked with this lady of the same name, and she specifically worked with Reiki. No other type of energy healing, even though she can, like she's super gifted. I just don't want people to think that Reiki is the only way. Some people are just naturally gifted with energy healing. Like they can just do it. There's no name to it. They can just move energy easily without having a specific title or certification. Um, but we started working together, and I came to her with the same thing. I want to take my gifts to the next level. And she was like, sure, I'll help you, but let's get you healed up. And at the same time, when I worked with her, um, I had a lot going on in my personal life. I was like really struggling in a very traumatic marriage and really wanting to leave, but not having the courage to leave. But at the same time, I was experiencing a lot of like violence for trying to leave. So even though I was accomplishing a lot for at the job, and even though I was accomplishing a lot in my business, a lot of times I think about how much further I would have been if I didn't have that on my back at the time. But either way, she was really trying, she understood what I was going through. And she never, said, hey, you should go. Never said a word like that, ever. She would listen to me, and it took me years to understand what she was trying to do. Like she introduced me to like different types of ceremonies that I'd never heard of or experienced ever in life. And in hindsight, I could, years later, I was like, huh, she was really trying to elevate my frequency. So your vibration, everybody has a vibrational frequency. Doesn't stay the same all the time. Different situations can make you go higher or low, but you kind of want to maintain a certain level. And what she was trying to do that I couldn't recognize at the time was she was really trying to raise my vibrational frequency to make it so that I could ascend. And when you do things like that, you lose people, you lose friends, you don't relate to people how you normally would relate to them. Everything just gets kind of strange. It can be lonely if you don't have the right people, but I had the right person standing right there with me, talking about, come with me. And what did I do? She invited me to this specific group of ceremonies. And she even was like, I'll pay for it. Come with me. And you know what I did? I paid for him to come too. And so it didn't help. It didn't help the situation. It didn't help the situation at all. It helped me in my life. It helped me move forward. Um, but at the same time, in bringing him, I was keeping him attached to me. And I went through a couple more rounds of those types of ceremonies. Um, but like I said, Reiki isn't the only thing. It's just the thing that's the most popular. In the world. Like that's if I say energy healing, a lot of people may not understand what I'm saying. But if I say Reiki, they're like, oh, okay. And so just go with that. But
All right.
a lot of work.
So, all right. So, I have a couple different questions. Is this something only certain people can do? Because you said you felt different since you were 5. So, do you have to feel called to this, or is this
Not
something
at all.
anybody can?
Well, there's a lot of people who would disagree with me, but I feel like more people are gifted than they know. I feel like a lot of people are like just kind of buried in the sand energetically, with their actual knowing. When I sit and work with people, I realize I'm like, you're gifted, right? Like you do realize that. And so what people end up experiencing is a lot of denial, and they kind of like gaslight themselves into believing that they are not gifted. So anybody can sign up for Reiki training. You can go online right now and you'll find one probably within 20 miles of you if you're in a major city. Then find a date and you can go. It's probably cost you about somewhere between $200 to $400, maybe more, depending on what kind of Reiki you're doing. So anybody can do it. Sign up and get trained. It's something you can do in a weekend. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are Reiki masters who are not practicing. They just don't feel it like that. And if that's the difference. Like you can do it on yourself. You can get Reiki trained and do it on yourself all day. Who's going to stop you? But do you feel called to help others? That's the difference, between being called and then being called to do what?
Gotcha. So, you mentioned that you were certified. How does the certification process work? Like, do you have to heal somebody in front of somebody else or something, and then they give you a certificate, or like, how do you
You,
get certified?
um, you don't necessarily have to. like heal a person in front of somebody. It doesn't not I would say I would hate to say heal. I would say actually work with people, understand the principles of Reiki. Most people get started with Usui Reiki. So with Usui Reiki, there are like hand movements that you do that mean specific things. One could be for distance healing, one for emotional healing, um, empowerment. Like there's many different ones. Like they're the main set, right? But then there's more. So being able to understand the principles and the history of Reiki is a thing. Now, I am attuned to other types of Reiki as well, which are do not have the same gestures, the same hand movements that you would associate with Usui. I probably use Usui Reiki less than anything else. Um, just because I like the other types of Reiki that I work with more. Um, so it really just is up to the person. But as far as certification is concerned, just go take a weekend course, sign up, and do it. Now, is your Reiki effective? That's what you're going to figure out more so after you take the course. During the course, yeah, you could probably do a lot, but can you work on somebody who is oblivious? I get some people who come to me who are like, well, my friend told me I need this. They know nothing about it. They just heard about it from somebody and they call me and they sign up. So are you able to have an impact on somebody who is not of that world? And that's kind of where you can test yourself at. You can you can work on yourself. Um, you can work on dogs and cats and all types of animals. Um, my second mentor, I literally watched her heal a dog who got kicked in the face by a horse.
Mm.
When it makes me think about the Kevin Hart things that what is it? Peel the muffin cat back blue, like that type of thing. That's what it looked like happened to the dog. Like the dog's face was like this, like just up and around. And she performed Reiki on the dog. And the next day the dog looked like nothing ever happened. This is it's not a game, but it takes practice. It takes there are people who can perform Reiki who can cure illnesses, big time illnesses, not a toothache, but the big boy illnesses. So it's just like, well, what are you trying to do with your Reiki? Are you trying to be the person that heals physical ailments? Or, are you trying to be the person who helps people ascend, help people, become more intuitively aware? And I think that's where I sit with it. Um, there's things that I know that I can do to people that can help them with their physical ailments, but I don't think that's where I sit with it right now. I think I more so want to help people heal emotionally, um, and also help them get in touch with their natural abilities, take them out the sand, shall I say.
Can you tell me about a time when you healed somebody and what happened?
Um, yeah. So there was a time where someone had, well, I could do two.
All right.
Two on two different levels, right?
All right.
So on the first level, let's just say I'm doing a body scan of this woman and I could tell that she was constipated. I and I asked her, have you been having problems going to the restroom? And she said, well, actually, yes. I said, okay. And so I did some work on her abdomen and she said she's right as rain the next day. Excellent. There's somebody else, and these are just like most recent. Someone else who's having very serious emotional issue. Um, and that's a lot of times when people come in with grief or just they feeling like the world is piling on them. Um, do the scan. She's got a lot of issues in her throat chakra, which is your ability to speak your truth, your ability to say what you need to say, and also solar plexus, just the I can, the ability to know that you can accomplish something, your power center. So, you could say, okay, this is a powerless person. This person feels powerless and they feel like they can't say what they need to say. All right. Um, so did some extensive work on her solar plexus as well as her throat chakra. And at that point, she was able to achieve what she needed to achieve. And so they reached back out to me and tell me, okay, my goodness, now I feel I can do this, I can do that. It was so much easier for me to speak my truth, to say what I need to say. So those are kind of some the main things that people come to me for. Um, if I were to say like, Kundalini Reiki, which is kind of helping people ascend, you could say that, helping people get to the next level in their spiritual journeys. Um, it kind of sets off a spark in those people. So where what they were feeling was like so far away from them as far as their spiritual goals, ascension goals, it pushes them to a place where it's like walking instead of like wading through mud, if that makes sense. So like it's
See
like,
what you're
okay,
saying.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's those are the main things people come to me for, is just emotional issues, or I'm ready to go to the next level. But at the same time, if I'm doing a scan and I'm feeling your body, a lot of times I'll feel what is in your body while I'm scanning. So my body feels your body. So that's I'm feeling this in myself. So I'm like, okay, well, this is what's wrong. Okay, are you having problems with this? Are you having problems with that? Even if they're male, like they have a issue related to their gender, I can still feel that there's something going on there.
So one thing you said in our email correspondence is you said you want to talk about trends of mental health in society. Here, let me look up exactly what you said. You said you would like to discuss mental health in society over time and the root causes of some mental health issues based on trends that you've noticed. Can you speak on that?
Right. So I recently, there's two things going on with me right now. Just one, I'm in school for massage therapy.
Hmm.
So part of the reason why I wanted to do that was because of the reverberance of issues that go through the aura to the body and back out and then back out.
Hmm.
Also mind. The other thing is I got a certification in being trauma informed. So I'm a trauma survivor, as most people are who walk around the earth. Um, but what I noticed is like the type of people that come to me, a lot of them, you get the one side that's like, hey, I'm ready to take this to the next level. And you get the other side that's like, I feel like I'm drowning in life right now. As a person who's experienced a lot of mental health concerns related to depression, anxiety, even insomnia, um, I can see what that looks like. I do often, tell people, do you have a counselor? Or, if I know they have a counselor, what did your counselor say? Just so that I can make sure that they understand that I am not a mental health professional. But I do recognize concerns and I do want them to get help. So what I look at with me and what I do is more like complementary to what they already have going on. I will tell my clients to go if I feel like they might be teetering on the edge of something dangerous. Like, who's your who do you trust in your family? Let me get their phone number. And if I need to
Hmm.
call them, I will call them and I will tell them this is what I'm going to do. Because I understand how it can be overwhelming and it can get dangerous. So trends, I feel like there's going to be a lot more of an integration of spirituality, and not spirituality as in like church, but in the sense of like when I was just talking about the auras, with the auric bodies, that coming into play into psychotherapy. One of the things that I learned in my trauma informed class was about it's something I already knew and experienced, but I've never had a therapist say it to me, which is about how like you go through cognitive therapy, you sit there and you going through talking about something very traumatic and processing something, but your mind is processing it, but your body went right back to that place. Your body is agitated. Your body feels very anxious and like kind of dancing around fight or flight if it's not in fight or flight. And so a lot of times with cognitive therapy, you're just kind of like that's why some people I think kind of turn away from it. I keep going, right? But I know a lot of people who
Mhm.
have turned away because they're like, I don't feel any better. We just talked about this and it feels bad. And I still feel
Mhm.
bad. And so from there, I feel like we're gonna come to a place where people are going to start doubling up on their therapies. So where they're like, well, I'm have therapy at 1, so I'm gonna go see my Reiki specialist at 3. Somebody who can help like calm my energy down. And that's another reason why I got into massage therapy was because relaxation is not should not be a luxury. It shouldn't be something that only like, the super wealthy can experience. If someone were to come to me, and I honestly feel like cognitive therapists and massage therapists, Reiki specialists should all sit in the same office, if at all possible. Um, because after one experiences something, they should go to the other. Maybe someone can't be touched. They cannot be physically touched after having a cognitive therapy session, but maybe they can experience a no-touch Reiki. Something to get the body back in line and the body back to a calm state so that um, someone can function. Because sometimes after a therapy session, it might be hard for you to go back to work.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it feels like our society, one thing I've noticed is there's a lot more depression. It seems like people are just becoming crazy. I just see a lot more crazy behavior in the media and things like that. And it seems like our whole society is kind of taking a downward path. Why do you think that is? And do you think that like Reiki or any kind of energy healing is the way to fix that?
Yes, I do think that Reiki and other types of energy healing are a way to fix that. One of the reasons why things people are seeming a little more crazy is because I feel like we are coming to a place where people don't know how to experience nature. We are natural beings.
Mhm.
We should not be in air conditioning 24/7. We should we shouldn't be cooped up in the house 24/7. Even if we were, like say you're in somewhere that's like a colder area. Those people that lived in those colder areas in a natural state had a way to touch nature. We are detached from nature. I feel the most at peace, the most connected to God when I'm in the rainforest, when I'm in a waterfall, when I hike. Um, and that's the more we get away from that, the harder it's going to be for everybody because everything is so technical, 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 technical. And, in my household, I love a day when the TV is not on and there's no tablets out and the kids are playing how they should just play. You know, I am, I'll be 42 um, this week. I think my generation might be some of the last to have experienced a life without a technical device attached to us.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, like having to wait for the internet, hearing the cringy, screaming sound of the internet to get on AOL chat. That's not a
Mhm.
thing. Everything is like that. So our kids, our younger siblings and things like that, they always had these things. They always had, by the time everybody used to have a phone, they had a phone.
Mhm.
So with that, I think and the advancement of video games.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Um, the fact that video games are giving people a desensitized version of life. I think there are going to be a lot of people, or there are a lot of people who can't differentiate between real life and a video game. I've done a couple of reality shows like where they've interviewed people who are just like that far gone. They just
Yeah.
don't know one between before the other. And like I think Law and Order or CSI did a couple of episodes about that where kids were just going around killing people, running people
Yeah.
over with cars because of GTA.
Hmm.
You know,
I
so
remember, I'm gonna cut you off a bit, this video
no, go
game
ahead.
thing. I remember as a kid reading something in like a game magazine. They were saying that in the future, this is like in the 90s, they were saying in the future, like games will be so realistic that you won't be able to tell the difference. And I remember thinking, like, that's stupid. They'll never get like that. But now I look and it's like, yeah, it's almost there, especially when they have these goggles and things
Oh
like that.
yeah,
Yeah, and it is a major problem. People connect more with technology than they do to actual human beings. And I think it's becoming a problem, you know.
yeah. Um, I don't like my spirit can't tolerate VR.
Hmm.
Can't do it. Never could. Let me tell you when I knew it was a problem. I think the last video game I played hardcore was 007 GoldenEye.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's old
That's
school.
a long time ago. Where the one where I can
Yeah.
sit there and play for with my little brother.
Hmm.
Then around like after that, they came out with the next game box and it was like Sonic 4 or something.
Hmm.
I was throwing up and having migraines then.
Oh man.
Every now and then, like I don't I hate video games. Never buy them for my kids. But it's not like I stop them from playing. I mean, my daughter had I think it was her ninth birthday party at a VR facility.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool, and then they had like some kids had the thing on their head and some kids were doing a little dancing game, which was cool, but everything is cool in moderation. Like I'm not gonna sit up here and let you eat cheesecake all day.
Yeah.
You get it when you get it, and then we move on and we eat regular food. I think that's pretty much how video games should be treated. But people surround their lives with that, and that's unfortunate. But even I have tried VR again. I did a car simulator, and let me tell you, I broke out into a sweat. That thing was wet when it was going, and I was so nauseous. And it's just like I can't tolerate that. Now, meanwhile, you put me in the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I'm good.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I can't say I'm the best survivalist, but that's where I feel connected to the world. And I don't want my kids to be video game people like that. This is why I don't buy stuff like that. Um, they have tablets? Yes, they have tablets. Phones? Yes, they do. Do they play Roblox? Sure do. But I will take them away. And not
Yeah.
because they did anything, but it's just like color, color. Do something different.
Yeah.
Or I buy the type of toys that I bought my children are because I have a 1 year old and I have a 19-year-old and I have two in between. So I've been on this road for a long time.
Hmm.
I buy craft sets, things that help them discover their artistic abilities, make jewelry, something like that. And right now I have a boy for the first time, a 1 year old. So how we're going to maneuver that, I'm not exactly sure. The science kits. But my goal is to keep him and my youngest girl in sports, like physically connected, tapped into their physical body. And when it comes to like this, we talk about the energy and things like that. These games take people away from their physical body. They become the game. They are detached from their physical body, and that causes a plethora of problems. So if you can't connect and identify with your body, what are you doing? This is your avatar.
Yeah, I've noticed that like the mind body connection, I feel like maybe that's being severed.
Yeah.
This is kind of a controversial topic. It's kind of a third rail, but I see like a lot of people getting surgeries and like altering their bodies in strange ways. Like, and this is I don't know how you might feel about this, but the whole transgender thing, I feel like those are people that might have some kind of disconnect, that the rate of transgender people have gone up. And just, I feel like there's just something going on between a disconnection between the mind and body. How do we repair that? Do people just need to go and get into nature, or what's going on? Because it feels like people are, yeah, there's something going on there. And it's interesting that you said that you were learning about massage therapy and you related it to the energy thing, because there is a connection there. And we as human beings have lost that connection.
So, with regard to like the trans topic, throughout history, there have always been people who were trans. It's
Yeah,
always been a thing.
yeah.
I used to work with special needs children a long time ago, and I saw for myself what a hermaphrodite looked like. This is somebody with both sexes. I would have never seen that in real life, but it was I had to change their diaper. Um, it's not new. Like I was studying the idea of someone being a hermaphrodite a long time ago because I was just like, what? Because they don't teach us about this in health class, all right?
Mhm.
So when you think about the physical body, um, how that can also have both sexes, but so can the mind, and so can the spirit, and so can the emotions. Now, there's two things going on, right? So this is someone who is I'm not trans, but someone who
Mhm.
is trans, they're gonna tell you how they feel about it. I feel like some people are like that. I'm not saying I agree with this theory, but it's always stuck with me. There's a theory that people who are trans are experiencing a different lifetime. Like your soul has not always been a man. My soul has not always been a woman. Your soul changes sexes from lifetime to lifetime for whatever you're needed to do. So if you get into this body and the last uh, lifetime you were a different sex, your body might be like, your mind might be like, what are we doing? Your spirit, like, what are we doing? It might be rejecting it. That's a theory. Not saying I 100% agree with it, but it's always something that stuck with me. Because, like I said, I'm not trans, so I can't tell you how they experience it. But I think that's something to consider. Um, the idea that, like, for me as a person, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people say I come off as masculine. I am very girly when it comes to like how I present myself. Um, I love makeup, I love hair, I love all that stuff. But my whole life, when I tell you my whole life, people have always said, like, this is my peers, like, if only you were really a man, you make the best boyfriend. And I'm like, this is me from like 10. I'm like, what are you saying? But and the other men have told me you come off like one of the dudes, one of the guys. I don't know. Um, so that's spiritually how that works. Now, on the other hand, here's another factor that comes into play that a lot of people don't recall. How old are you, may I ask?
I am 34.
34. Okay, so you might not remember. For years, people went to school thinking they were eating beef when they had burgers.
Mhm.
But somewhere in
And
the
it was
90s,
soy.
huh?
It was soy.
Right.
Yeah, I
Somewhere in the
remember that.
90s, it
Yeah,
was soy.
yeah, I remember that.
So a lot of people don't know that soy has a high concentration of
Estrogen.
estrogen in it.
Yep.
So whether you are male or female, that is going to change the way your body is naturally supposed to be if you're eating that on a consistent basis. And soy is almost everything. You really have to like maneuver to get away from it.
Mhm.
Um, then you also have hormones that women wear for menopause, for birth control. And so way before everybody was talking about being trans, and it was like a big thing in the news, years before, we talked about this in biology class about how there are certain waterways that are connected to the sewer system to where fish are going from male to female just from
Mhm.
being in the water.
Yep.
So you got those drugs, you've got the food, and even if and some things are just like agitating to the endocrine system. So for example, melatonin, right? Well, I don't remember melatonin being a gummy when I was a kid, but it is now.
Yeah.
My 4-year-old, when she was like 1, she would run around her crib at night. I'd be on, this was during COVID. I'm on video call with the doctor, like, look, man, look at her, watch her. What am I supposed to do? And he would be like, good luck, mom. And I was like, can I give her melatonin? No, she's too young. So by the time she was older, say about 3, I started giving her melatonin until one day I um, read that melatonin agitates the endocrine system and it will mess with the development of the children. So in males, it will make their testes smaller. And in females, it will kind of shrink their reproductive system. Well, as a
Wow.
mom, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't, I feel like I've had breasts since I was 7 years old. They were saying back then that it's something in the hair products for of black women or black girls, and it was soy.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been imagine the bullying I experienced as a kid for having
Yeah.
grown women titties on 7-year-old. Like, it's creepy.
Yeah,
But
it is.
that's what was going on in the 90s. A lot of young girls getting their periods at 9 and 10 and having breasts at 7. Like, it was crazy. These are things that are affecting everyone. So whether someone feels like they align with femininity, or internally feels like they are aligned with masculinity, we have too many things in our atmosphere that are not supposed to be there that are agitating our endocrine systems. Men
Yeah.
not having losing their hair, women gaining hair on their chin. These are all hormonal things. There's ways to combat these things. There's different, but it's just kind of like, if in our existence, especially here in this country, is really kind of fighting against the food that we eat and the air that we breathe. Like, in order to like feel as healthy as possible, we just have to like fight these things. Like, okay, well, this is in the water, so now I got to take this. So I, as when my 19-year-old was a baby, I was all about lavender. Lavender this, yes, that's gonna help her sleep at night. Let me get some of that. Can't mess with lavender.
Really?
Lavender, lavender has too much estrogen in it.
Huh.
And she had some like strange developments as as a toddler.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like some weird stuff. I had to take her to the doctor, like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
But with that, it's still put out there. People are still using it. Eventually, by the time I had the next baby, it was like 7 years later, Shea Moisture had a frankincense and myrrh line of baby products, and that's what I was using. So I'm very cautious about what to put on the kids because yes, it's natural. Estrogen is natural. Excuse me, yeah, estrogen is natural, but lavender is natural, soy is natural. All these things are natural, but just because they're natural doesn't mean that they are good for you. They have a
Mm.
time and place. They are for this and that, not for to be absorbed through your skin all the time, not to be absorbed through your hair all the time, because it will have an impact on you. So when it comes to trans people, I kind of feel like um, I don't necessarily feel like they may be detached from their bodies per se. I think for some of them, that's who they are spiritually. They came to this earth to have that existence, to have that struggle, that fight. Because it's for you to show up as a soul in this society like that, then to me, that means you came here to do something, to,
Uh-huh.
you had a journey that you needed to do. But at the same time, we're all impacted by these environmental factors that a lot of us cannot get away from.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. It's very hard.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but are you looking to reach a dynamic and engaged audience of curious minds? Well, look no further. Bright Brains Podcast is the perfect platform to showcase your business or product. You'll be able to reach a diverse and intelligent audience and engage with listeners passionate about personal development, technology, and more. Elevate your brand through thought-provoking discussions. Don't miss this opportunity to promote your business on one of the fastest growing podcasts in the market. Contact us today to discuss advertising options and elevate your brand to the next level. Contact us at brightbrainspod@gmail.com to secure your advertising spot on Bright Brains today. Again, that's Bright Brains with a Z pod pod @gmail.com. Now, back to the podcast.
It is. Yeah, I feel like we here in America, we basically live in one big science experiment. And basically, it feels like, we just let these corporations and these companies just do whatever. We care more about, money and the stock price going up, and they say everything else be damned. One thing that I'm probably going to do a show on later is microplastics. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard about this, but
Yeah.
they say that there's microplastics in women's breast milk. There's microplastics in the placenta. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it's everywhere and you can't get away from it, And like autism rates have gone up. They say it's like 1 in 3 people now have autism. And it's crazy, it's insane. But I think we kind of, this is definitely something good to talk about. We kind of got off, but I want to ask you this: if someone is interested in learning this stuff, where do they begin? What resources should they seek out?
I don't teach classes on Reiki. But like I said, if they were to go Reiki classes near me, there's somebody probably within 20 miles of them if they are in a major metro city. So it's one of those things where it's not hard to come across. It's not hard, but it's just like once you become certified, what are you going to do with it? How often are you going to practice? What are you going to do to keep yourself clear? Do you have any people that you can work with where you could do Reiki on each other to, practice on each other, on people who don't know? And like I said, everybody, you can pick up any tool, you can access any of your own gifts, but are you called to help others? And you'll know, there's some people I know who are claiming to be shamans right now, and they literally hate people. They can't get along with anybody in their family. they they hate everybody. Like
Yeah.
shaman who? Who are you shamaning? So
Mhm.
so that's the thing. Like if you want to become certified in Reiki to level yourself up, by all means, do it. It's not gonna hurt anything. If you want to study energy healing, learn the different. I mean, that's a Japanese energy healing, and it's can't even really say it. It's like ancient. This is in the world of energy healings. It's fairly new, compared to what other ancient cultures have done. So I personally feel like do some studying. You may. It took me a long time to really pick up Reiki for real as an energy healing tool. I have something called crystal aura therapy. That is like a 3-step process. But it's rare that someone will get that because it's not a buzzword, but it's very, very beneficial. But it took me a while to pick up Reiki because I was reading something that this lady was posting about how it was an Eastern practice that moved to the West, and she felt like it become bastardized. Like it wasn't like the purity, it wasn't what the creator intended. And she was a Japanese woman. And I was like, you know what? Points were made. And
Yeah.
I so it took me years, even though someone was doing Reiki on me, took me years to be like, all right, I think this is what I'm gonna do. And like I said, the original Reiki, like what he created, is not something I do all the time. And I'm always picking up new types of Reiki that align with my spiritual beliefs.
So tell me about crystals because I've had a strange experience with the whole crystal thing. I remember one time I was just doing some window shopping at like the mall, and I walked into this place that was like, a holistic place selling crystals. And I was just talking to the woman who ran the shop, and she was telling me about the crystals. And she placed one of these crystals in my hand, and I legitimately could feel some energy radiating off of it. It was a strange feeling because usually I'm kind of like a skeptic about that kind of stuff. So, what is crystal, energy, and how does this stuff work?
So crystals are part of the earth. They're just natural creations in the earth. They are like data mines. They record energy. They are gifts from God. A lot of people feel like they're the devil, and those are usually people who are super ignorant, and not willing to look into their own Bible to see that specific stones were listed in the Bible, uh,
Mhm.
to to use as a decorum or to wear, right? So every type of crystal has a different property that it is best for. Um, there's a crystal that I can't, and keep in mind, I've got a ton in my head, but like I have to look up the exact name of this one. But I give it to people when they are having a series of grief. There's a specific stone for grief people, and that stone helps support them in their grief. I used to sell crystals. Selenite is a very common stone. It's not hard to get a hold of. I used to have a crystal ball. I've had obelisks, like all sorts of stuff. And I had this guy that used to come to my house and take my stones and line them up in a way to direct the energy into his hip because he had a hip pain. And it was so weird. Like I wish I could have recorded him doing it, but he would just like position them, the crystal ball and the obelisk in front of it to like direct that energy from the crystal ball into his hip, and he'd just be like, yeah, yeah, like moving his hip around. And we just like, what? That's not how I use it, but go ahead, honey. So when I was ready to sell that crystal, he bought it from me. So it's like the question or is like, what are you trying to achieve? Because there's a crystal for that. There's a crystal for everything. If there's a crystal where there's some crystals that aren't good for you. They're going to give you energy that you don't need. So it's like, what are you trying to accomplish? And know that that crystal energy is there. Now, regarding crystals and their data mining or how they hold data, if you give yourself the time and space, take time and hold the crystal and meditate and ask for nothing so that you can receive what's going on. I used to have I've had groups, but when I first started doing this, I got invited by one of my mentors to this like evening group where we would all sit around and just do different types of meditations, work with different crystals, and just explore. And we worked with some Lemurian crystals, and we would just kind of hold them, position them, and just let the energies kind of flow through our bodies, like ourselves, or I'd hold a crystal and I'd hold on to somebody else and let that energy flow through me into them, and then we would, expand and explore. So what you're trying to do is make sure your mind is blank and just let the crystal tell you the story, like what was going on, what visions come up when you're holding it. It's ancient stuff that we were able to see with those. So the best thing I could tell anybody who's interested in crystals is be mindful of where they come from. There's a lot of people who are faking them. They know how to do it. And I had ran into a gemologist in St. Louis. I was just visiting, and he was just like, the way things come out of China with perfect replicas, and they're not the real stone. He's like, it's crazy that you have to know if you're getting something and then it says it's from China, go look up what mines they have in China. There are different mines all over the world. I love labradorite. It's one of my favorites. It's a beautiful stone, good psychic stone. But if I see a labradorite coming out of China, made in China, why? It's more of a Madagascar type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, so it's like getting into crystals, like really get in, you know. look up what mines are where. Well, where's the selenite mines? There's a lot of selenite in Mexico. Okay, cool. There's some places in the earth that the stones just keep pushing up out the ground, just pushing up. One of them is in Arkansas, which I haven't been there yet, and another one in Brazil, haven't been there yet. And these are where the Lemurian crystals just keep coming up out the earth. I want to go. I just haven't been yet. But authenticity is a big deal with crystals. A lot of times it's hard to be able to tell how authentic something is, but just kind of look for kind of understanding like if something feels plastic or not. Like how close does this feel? Does it give you a vibration? Do you feel because everything that's natural has a vibration. So do you feel a vibration with this stone? I picked up whew, was a quartz with I think it was a tourmaline, black tourmaline inclusions in it, and touch it and you just feel I felt like I was gonna repel away from it. Like it was just like a crazy feeling like that just wild feeling. This was probably like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I wanted it. I should have got it. I wanted it bad,
Yeah.
but I just didn't get it. I ended up getting the selenite one because it would cost less. But there's I think some skull crystals.
Yeah, crystal skulls. That's a
Yes,
fascinating topic. Yeah.
that. So like they mean something. They're not just rocks, and they have their own personalities. As in, like they'll come into your life to offer you support when you need it, and when it's
Mm.
time for them to go, they will go. So there's some stones that I have worn and lost. Like I paid for them with my own money. I wasn't gifted them, but then they go. Like there's a set of stones I bought from this store. The store owner ended up being like pretty jacked up. Um, Rhodonite. I bought a Rhodonite bracelet from her, and she ended up being pretty evil.
Oh wow.
And I didn't know it, but once I realized it, it's like because it was a bracelet, right? What was holding those stones together broke. And it was hard for me to like process it because I actually thought that this person was decent. So I was just kind of like, nah, can't be. But I a lot of visions were coming to kind of show me things that I missed. A lot of hindsight stuff like, oh, you missed that, you missed when she did that, that. Anyway, I had to throw all those stones out. If they make it to somebody else, I hope it's helpful to them. But rhodonite is a good stone for like emotional balance. It's a pink stone. I usually have them when I bought another set. But yeah, I got a few here, smoky quartz, clear quartz. I mean, I got them all over the place. I have a huge labradorite. That's about this big on the other side of it. But um, I feel like you should definitely get in, but kind of have an idea of like where it comes from, and then tap into the energy of it. It's hard for me to buy stones online, but sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah. So here's my final question, then we can wrap it up. Do you feel like knowledge, like all this metaphysical health knowledge, do you think it's like hidden from the people intentionally? Do you think this knowledge is kept from us and
All the
why?
time.
Yeah.
All the time. And in our face too. So you're 34, so you probably don't remember Sunday morning cartoons and certain cartoons. Certain
I
cartoons,
remember. Yeah. I
so
remember
like
Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah.
Gummy Bears was a cartoon. It's on Disney Channel now. He-Man, She-Ra. Those are
Mm.
cartoons that were really playing in our face, like showing us what we could do. It took me, like I had a plant medicine ceremony, my first plant medicine ceremony. After that, it all hit me like, hold on, they were really trying to tell us everything in these cartoons. So like, if you put things in certain movies and certain shows and cartoons, and it's enough to say like, They're that's fake because it's a cartoon. Like, why would you say that? But mirrors, like all the work that these cartoons used to do in mirrors, portals, moving back and forth, like we can do that. Things happen in mirrors. It's a real thing. The potions, especially the gummy bears, like gummy bears are like forest people in the woods making juice that gave them superpowers. We can do that. So it's yes, it's basically trying to discredit human ability. And so that's kind of like what I've been studying since I was 12, human potential. What can we actually do beyond, go to work and come home?
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like that's all they want us to do is just, wake up, go to work, make money for somebody else, and then die, which that's not what we were here meant to do. So, my final question is, where can people go to find out more about you? And do you have anything you want to promote?
So yeah, my company is Soul Trine, SOULTRINE.com. Soul Trine is a multifaceted metaphysical company. So energy healing is there, readings are there, courses are there. Um, there's some things that are not listed on there. So if there's something that you're curious about and you want to know, just go to the contact page and just fill out a form and say, hey, can you do this? Because there's a lot of things people ask me for that I just don't advertise. I don't put it on the website, because it's just kind of different. So,
Mhm.
um, and also coaching services is, if somebody's like, I really want to do this, I got this book, I want to try it, but I just don't want to do it alone. That type of thing. I have 2 books on Amazon that are pretty much just poetry books, going through my healing process. So one is under Aether Candace, the other one is under my first married name, which is Candace Henry. Um, and I also have a website, aethercandace.com, AETHERCANDACE.com. And that's where I just talk about regular life things, healing, poetry, products, like, all the facets of, what is me. But my mission in life is to help people rise above.
That's awesome. Do you also have a podcast?
I do. One's called Business Layer, and it's pretty much a podcast for people who are into the metaphysical and outer realms, but also have a business. So
Gotcha.
it's on hiatus. It will come back soon, but I had you can go on like any of your major podcast outlets and listen to the episodes, and they're really good. Like of some really heavy hitters um in the metaphysical world discussing the business side of things. So we will be picking that back up shortly. We're about to been recording all year. We just haven't published anything for Soul Trine. So we moved our blog over to Substack. So it's blog.soultrine.com. But we've been recording, we just haven't released anything yet for Soul Trine in a long time. I used to record years ago, but now I'm bringing it back. But this week we're recording an episode on cults. So,
Yeah. I've actually done a couple episodes on those.
oh wow.
About, Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology. I interviewed a guy who was raised in a cult. I can't remember the name of it, but his was really interesting. And he had a whole like real interesting perspective on the world. But yeah,
So
I forget.
one of our readers, or part of the Soul Trine team, her name is Justine the Witch, and Justine the Witch is a cult survivor. And so it's interesting. I'm excited for us to have this conversation. And then I also wrote an article on my personal blog about like a very intense relationship and how someone, um, a mutual friend, referred to that person that I was with as, or their group as a cult. Like, hey, he's like, hey, you escaped the cult and I just haven't escaped yet. So we're gonna go deep into like how some relationships can be culty.
Yeah.
Friendships, not just romantic, but friendships and all sorts of things, and kind of what to look for. But hers is kind of a hot topic because there's like a looming like lawsuit going on right now, so it's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm
You know
excited.
the the thing about the codes, right? So one word for a code is a high control group, right?
Yes,
And one thing I've noticed, like I've had a lot of jobs in life, and one thing I've noticed is I feel like there are a lot of jobs that seem culty.
yes,
Yeah, like I used to work for a call center that looking back on it, I was like, I think I was in a cult, you know?
yeah. When they tell you, look, I had a manager who she knew what time it was, and she knew how difficult it was for me to process some of this stuff with this company. Um, and that's a whole other story. But she would just be like, man, just drink the Kool-Aid.
Mm.
Just drink the Kool-Aid. Or she would say things like, or other jobs, when you have an employee who's one of the lowest level employees and they are tattooing the company logo on their body.
Whoa, that's wild.
Well, this was one of the Fortune 200 he used to work for. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, rough. And then on top of that, if you weren't, I guess it's like this. I hated high school. I liked school, but not high school. So the way that they program you to be into these sports teams in high school, to me, is
Mhm.
culty. And I wasn't feeling it then. So by the time you go through whatever, and then you end up at this job, and they're like, yeah, let's go, and it's like, I can see if it's sales now. I can
Mhm.
get with that because let's go means I'm getting more money.
Yeah.
But if you're working a regular hourly job or salary job, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. We're gonna accomplish our goals, and I'm clocking out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I
Exactly. One thing I tell people is if you work for a job and they start saying that we're all family here and blah blah blah, get out. Just go. Cause yeah,
right,
you know, if like okay, if we're family, then are you gonna help me pay my bills if something happened? Like, if I need to take off for like if I get sick, are you gonna allow me to take off or am I gonna get written up? You know, if we're
that.
family, yeah, yeah, it's
I
just
mean, you
yeah,
said a lot because it's just at the bare minimum when my kid is sick and I need to stay home, is that going to be a problem? Because as
exactly.
family, you would understand because that's my
Yeah.
family, and that's in turn
Mhm.
your family. What are we doing? But
Exactly.
I would say the best jobs from a corporate environment were experience were people who lived in reality.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But those other people who are like, oh my God, it's so trivial, right? But this is another thing that turned me off. So we're in this meeting where it's like I had to stay late this day because we had to do this like social media event. So we're the social media event. And you got to understand, I was the only Black person in this group, which race
Hmm.
really doesn't have much to do with it, but it kind of did, right? So they were really trying to get me to be part of them. And my thing is like, I can be a part of you without being you. We can
Hmm.
be a team without me having to ingest all the weird stuff that you're trying to get me to do. Weird stuff number one. I don't have a problem with Miley Cyrus. Never did. My kid watched her show.
Hmm.
Whatever that show was, she watched it. But it would just all of a sudden they start breaking out into song about that with that LAX song. And they're like, oh my God, every time I land in LA, at LAX, I have to do this and I have to sing the song. And I'm just like, okay. And I wasn't feeling it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's just like if I were to say, like, I think Good Kid, Mad City might have been out that time. So if I'm like, Good Kid, Mad City comes on and like, you can't vibe to Money Trees. I don't give a shit. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Exactly.
if they approach me on the lines of like, hey, do you like this song? Like, I probably be like, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. I know
I
exactly what you
don't.
mean.
I don't hate it,
Yeah.
but it was just like they all started dancing together. And I was just sitting there like, let me do my job. I'm supposed to be doing my job. And then so my manager, like, like scoffed at me, rolled her eyes at me, and just kept shaking her head and looking at me like I was a problem. Bitch, I'm here trying to do my job. But
Yeah.
anyway, so these are the things, and so I would get excluded from stuff for not being enthusiastic. But I'm like, I don't want, for me, when working with people, I don't want a follower.
Yeah.
I want you to shine how you shine. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think people get it twisted, because a lot of these managers end up becoming low-key cult leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I could maybe do a whole show about that, but it's crazy,
Well, let
man.
me know.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, but definitely, I'll probably have to have you back on. But hey, this has been a great talk. I really learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure my audience will too. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me know if you need anything else.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us for another enlightening conversation here on Bright Brains. I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your own bright ideas. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or however else you listen to this podcast. Also, we can be found on all major social media. Just type in Bright Brains with a Z. And remember, the brightest minds are those that never stop seeking knowledge.